I'm Akademiks.
Album in a second. I see a lot of people doing some great breakdowns. And I think this is where hip-hop is at now. Hip-hop is in a place where, I guess I got to say for better or for worse, because do we need to have like Easter egg hunts for every person's album and whatever? I think that kind of came out during the battle. It kind of continued a bit. We see J. Cole, obviously, and Drake, and even Kendrick. They kind of like leave these Easter eggs that fans could really lean into. But it appears that it's taken even more shape with even Drake's new album. You've seen Drake did the whole rollout where he specifically put stuff in ice and is like, all right, hey, there's a booklet attached. And we see now he's like doing this new thing where have anybody noticed? Like, I feel like everyone's now, remember when everybody kept posting the pregnant bellies with the emojis? Everybody's doing this now where you have ICEMAN and you have like words around it. So it's like, when I call your bluff, make sure you answer me on that first ring, right? And then he also says, please stop mistaking chat for fact, reels for reality, streaming for flow, and likes for love. Thank you. He also said, here is something you can criticize and pretend does not make you feel better than everything. We've seen a bunch of like big label brands. They've actually taken, they've just ripped off the idea and they're posting just like that as well. We've seen the Milwaukee Bucks says, a reminder, Bucks in 6, always, that's for the culture. Milwaukee, remember that. Thank you. Okay. So, we have the Bucks doing that. There's a couple other companies I've seen like kind of do that as well. I think I saw like KFC or like some. Okay, here's a few. UFC, 2 title fights, stacked card. Newark, New Jersey, coming soon, May 9th, Paramount Plus. 49ers, tonight, we're on the clock. Time to see if your mock drafts are accurate. Bang, bang. Okay, they're all saying Iceman. So the Iceman is pretty much omnipotent. It's everywhere. No matter what you say, you're going to see the Iceman. It's being seen in it. And look like we see KFC. They said Spice Man is now on the way. And they have the Colonel here. Okay. DoorDash, it says, am I a big back for ordering my dessert right after my dinner arrives? So, yeah, it appears that, we've seen this during the battle where something happens to be the wave so much that culturally brands start adopting to it to use for promo for their own product. And it's happening to Iceman. So for anyone who's doubted that, is Iceman having any impact? Well, it clearly is. All the big brands are jumping out. They're all kind of like copying this little way of, kind of sending out a message that Drake is doing. And I think that's a really good thing. I seen some things about, in terms of speculating, what is on Iceman, right? Because I know you guys been asking me. I told you I'm enjoying this thing like a fan. I'm into all the Easter egg hunts. I'm into, kind of looking into all the stuff that fans are interested in. I'm into that as well. Give me one second. Okay. So now here's one of the deep dives right here. There's a deep dive. And this is supposedly, people believe that, Drake might be reigniting some old feuds, right? Check this one out.
Iceman message.
Look.
I bet you don't know what Drake meant by the cryptic Iceman message he posted that said, when I call your bluff, make sure you answer on the first ring. So in March of 2022, Drake and Jack Harlow went on a trip to Turks and Caicos together, where Drake was claimed to have written a verse in 11 minutes for the song Churchill Downs. And while this was supposed to be released in May, where the two of them would film a music video at the Churchill Downs Kentucky Derby, the song accidentally leaked on April the 14th of 2022. And when this song leaked, not only did fans realize that this is one of the hungriest Drake verses they'd heard in years, but there appeared to be some shots for Kendrick Lamar and Pusha T on this. Now, in reference to Pusha T revealing some pretty personal information about Drake and his son, Drake had the following line: "My son's gotta learn forgiveness is a lonely road," to which he continues to address the situation with the lines, "My urges for revenge are uncontrollable. I know we're getting older though, but I gotta get him back for that. It's a non-negotiable. It's not even debatable." He continues with some direct lines to Pusha T that say, "All I hear is plug talk coming from middlemen," and "Daytona's with the green faces," a reference to the album Daytona, where Pusha T did originally diss Drake, but also Green Faces being the face of envy. But at this time, Drake had a cold war going on with Kendrick Lamar by dissing him subliminally in songs and Kendrick Lamar doing the same. And even though the infamous beef hadn't come to a head at this point, Drake did have a couple of subtle lines for Kendrick Lamar, including, "All I hear is tall tales coming from little men," and a reference to Kendrick Lamar's Family Ties song after taking a 3-year break, the line, "Same ones that say they run the game when they're not even in it." Now, Drake was talking extra vicious on this song because he even had lines where he grouped the two of them together, and even says, "Whips and chains like a dominatrix, what psh, and if I see ya, I'll spit in your faces." You gotta give it to me, that was a pretty good impression. And when he additionally says, "Lucky me, people that don't mess with me are linking up with people that don't mess with me to mess with me. This is getting ugly," that's exactly what Kendrick Lamar and Pusha T did in reference to the Whips and Chains line, when they released a song called Whips and Chains the following year on June 20th, 2023. Now we're gonna go forwards to go backwards with this, because there was a little bit behind this song that I need to tell you about. So this song was leaked by Pharrell at the Louis Vuitton fashion show in June of 2023. And even though the song is about whips and chains in reference to slavery, it does serve as a double entendre as succeeding and owning chains that were expensive. And because of Pharrell's involvement in this, Drake took to the song Meltdown just 6 weeks later, where he says, "I'll melt down the chains that I bought from your boss," a reference to a chain he had bought from Pharrell on auction just a year before. And while it took 2 years for this song to release, Pusha T was very adamant he wanted to release this song with Kendrick Lamar, and even left Def Jam when they tried to stop him from releasing this after the infamous Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. But just a week after this Churchill Downs verse had leaked, Pusha T announced that he was going to be releasing an album called It's Almost Dry. And on this album, there was a song called Call My Bluff, which appeared to be taking some subliminal shots at Drake. Ultimately, the crux of the song is Pusha T telling his enemies to call his bluff and that he'll figuratively murder them. But the second verse had some really interesting lines. The lyrics, "Calling my bluff, gonna answer hello. Service with a smile when I hand out the halos. Shot clock shooters when I point them, they go. Now everybody asking what happened, they know." The line, "Now everybody asking what happened, they know," is a reference to two different things that might tie to the Drake and Pusha T beef. Now, Pusha T and Drake were initially beefing because of inherited beef between Birdman and Pharrell, two people considered mentors to the both of them, but ultimately over payment issues from the song What Happened to That Boy. But the line "they know" is also very akin to Drake's famous song Headlines, where he repeats the line "they know" over and over. And with Drake's Churchill Downs verse being recorded in Turks and Caicos, Pusha T says in the following line, "Rather watch the sunset in Turks and Caicos." Now, Pusha T's album that this song was on was exclusively produced by Pharrell and Kanye West, and it's because of this album, the fact that Pusha T and Kendrick Lamar linked up at his expense, the fact that Kendrick Lamar and Drake had been dissing each other, and this song Call My Bluff, that Drake had the cryptic message to say, "When I call your bluff, make sure you answer on the first ring." Now, Drake is the king at letting these lines manifest, and I think we're gonna get some real heaters on Iceman. So as I said, make sure you stay tuned.
Wow. Y'all think Drake is gonna tap back in with maybe Push, maybe Dot? You know, obviously everybody's trying to figure out the they're trying to figure out the angle. You know, obviously I do think Drake is leaving some Easter eggs out there. And maybe this is just a top rapper type of thing, but we're definitely spoiled because of the battle, where we have to kind of read into a lot of things to connect dots, like the Pinocchio, the this, that, and third. Obviously, our, friend to the stream, What's the Dirt, he's been really tapped in as well. he also just gave a breakdown, and he said, check this out.
Because of the release date. Drake's Iceman booklet went viral because of the release date, but the booklet itself is the most important part. I think this booklet is what tells the story of everything that's to come. First, we see the front and back cover of the booklet, and this is the most important part because it sets the stage of the story. We see a weird looking cartoon, and this is directly from a Japanese video game from 1991. The character I'm showing on screen is actually pretty popular in Japan, as he's featured in a bunch of different video games over the years. But I don't feel the character itself is really what's important. What's really important is the type of game that's being played. It's called Pachinko, and it's a game in Japan that is tied to gambling. I thought gambling was illegal in Japan. Well, it actually is, but with the game of Pachinko, they found a loophole in order to gamble legally. If you go to Japan, you'll see these machines everywhere. In fact, this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, even bigger than Vegas and Singapore combined. But how do they gamble if it's illegal? Well, it's because they set up a bunch of steps in order to do it. The way that this game works is you play and you win these little metal balls. From there, you take the balls and exchange them for a token. Then after that, you take the token to a completely separate location and business entirely, and that's where you trade the tokens in for cash. So on paper, technically, it's not gambling and it's not illegal. It's a loophole. Okay, so how would this link back to Drake's Iceman, and why would he make this, of all things, important enough to be the front and back cover of the booklet? Because at the end of the day, it's exactly like the music business. In music, one company owns this, another company distributes that, another company promotes this, another company covers media, another company handles the money. Everything is split up into these separate pieces and shell companies, but somehow the exact same machine always ends up winning all the money. And I think that speaks volumes for why he would make this, of all things, the cover of the booklet. Drake is looking at the music business like a game. He's fully aware that the whole thing is rigged. It's a game where nothing's really direct. Everything is hidden behind technicalities. A game where the people who really understand the structure are the ones who have the most power. And although Drake is a player, I believe he understands the game better than pretty much anyone. For that reason, I believe Drake found a loophole of his own in some way, meaning after all these years of contracts and royalty issues and business games, he may have figured out a way to play the system back. Not as the artist getting played, but as the player within the game playing the game against itself. And if I'm right about what Drake is saying here, then Iceman starts to make even more sense. And when you crack this book open, the next page is May 15th, which is not just the day Iceman drops, but the start of a chain of events that Drake has planned for a very long time. In a sense, May 15th is the start of the game. I'm going through this whole book and like breaking it all down, so check out the YouTube channel, don't miss it.
Number one, highly impressed. Number two, I am glad that it feels like there's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of thoughts into this. A lot of thoughts into this entire like rollout. I really like it. By the way, chat, holy, hey, shout to my chat queens and chat kings. Jesus, you guys are loving the collection. You guys are running it up. Shout to Kenya. Kenya just dropped big 300. Bought like about 8 items. Love you, girl. Sandy, yo, I'm telling you, it's the chat queens. I be really running up. Yo, women spend money. Niggas don't spend shit. Sandy, thank you. She bought like 5 items, and thank you for supporting our store. And also we put a lot of thought and design for these items for you. And by the way, shout out to Verselli. Like, he comes to me with ideas and I'm like, these are just amazing. Like, I have a hard time telling him no, because he gives me a skew of things and he's like, could we put in an order to make these happen? And I'm like, they all look great. So appreciate him for all his hard work and effort. By the way, if you don't know, if you guys ever met Verselli, he comes to our shows. So he does merch. Like, we fly him in, he comes to our shows. So if you don't know who Verselli is, he's a guy who does all our merch. He's such an amazing, I really think one of the best designers out now. Okay. I still want to get him an ASAP Rocky to collab. But he does all our merch. He's done our merch for like quite some time now. And all of these things are hand designed by him. These are his concepts. Sometimes my assistant will kind of go over with it. But just that y'all know I'm not fashionably inclined like that. So I just hit approve and I just pay the tab. They'll be like, all right, we need this to make it. Yes, y'all got it. But shout out to Verselli. He does an amazing job. And if you guys ever came to our show, he's a white guy that's at the fucking at the booth where we do sell merch. So, thank you. I want to thank him for all his hard work as well. Like he's really phenomenal. And Jiniki, am I saying your name right? Right? Thank you. You bought like 8 items as well, so thank you as well. All right. Okay. Cool. So, it looks like Iceman is gonna have a whole bunch of things. I like the fact that fans are just sitting back and we are actively engaged and wondering what it's going to be. I'm not lying. I don't have any proprietary information. I think Mealy Mall probably knows a lot more than me because I think Drake has sent him records or played records for him. I believe Aiden heard records. Now, I've always said this process. I wanted to be a fan. I have not heard a record. And I'm fine with that. I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised. I'll be very honest, though. I did have a conversation with Drake. I think once I reacted to Ben the Don, I had a conversation with Drake, and he was just like, no, what Ben heard wasn't the final album. And that was pretty much what he said, right? So, I was like, all right, good. Because I think I had criticism, not of Ben himself, but I was just like, yo, I don't want an album filled with a bunch of bars. Like, yes, we want bars, but you got these haters like, yo, the only way to come back, he got to just rap like 1,000,000 bars on 18 songs. He got to just have conductor beats and maybe him and Alchemist, and he got to really get on the primo beats. That's how he's nah, fuck out of here, nigga. That's what I was like, get them niggas the fuck out of here. And he basically told me, nah, it's not what it's going to be. He was like, yo, come on, you know me. This is a Drake album, and that was a good assurance. So, that's the only conversation we've had about music. I don't want to hear the songs before. I don't want to know what made the cut. I'm pretty sure maybe 1 or 2 songs maybe got leaked that he might keep. I don't know, but that's as much as I know. I know it's May 15th. We're gonna have an interesting and really exciting time. Chat. We all know my birthday show is on May 15th. But we know we do the listening party on May 14th. So May 14th going into the 15th, we're going to have a listening party, and then we're going to fucking celebrate at my fucking birthday party. So shout out to my man DJ Busy. Is it Blizzy? He's going to be my DJ there. He better have all the new Drake songs because we might have after the show, I might talk to the venue. We might just have to have a listening party at the show. Fuck out of here. You know what I mean? We got to have fun. All right. Okay, so we'll kind of spin back to that. Should we get into this TDE meltdown? There's a bunch of stuff